So the path is also called Plan Alternative Tomorrows with Hope. And we'll talk more about the with hope part next week, because this is a two-part presentation where you'll have homework. It's been a while for some of us, right? But we'll lead you through that. So planning alternative tomorrows with hope. And I love the path, and there's many, many reasons. First of all, it's because it embraces Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, his begin with the end in mind habit. So you'll find out that we'll start with the North Star, which we'll explain in just a moment, and we'll wrap around and end with the North Star. So I love that. And the North Star represents your most important beliefs. So we'll go through a process of how you figure that out. I love the path because it's flexible. Now it's a certain structure, but within that structure, you can modify it to what you want to happen in your life. And last of all, it's fun, okay? It's not like the old way of writing down goals, like, oh, by June 17th, 2022, I will, lose 100 pounds. I will make $1 million, whatever the goals are. So it's a little different than that. However, even though the path is written in a visual format, goals are still very important. In an article called A Mindful Goal Focus, Dr. Lucinda Poole and Hugo Albert stated, past research shows that focusing on future goals is an important predictor of well-being and positive functioning. And isn't that what most of us want for our lives? We want to be well, and we want to be able to function positively. So these goals that we're going to work on today in the path format are very important. I want to present the path as a roadmap to the future, our future. And so you will have a little exercise to follow as we go along during this presentation. If you have questions, please put them in the chat, because we will have a Q&A at the end of this presentation. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find out before next week. So, but this is our roadmap. Now, here's a template of the path. And most people do this on a poster board or a long sheet of butcher paper. And right here, it looks a little bit sterile, right? But you will see, especially at the end, that it can be a very colorful, creative, and as we said, interactive process. So we'll go through each of these steps in turn. So don't worry about trying to take notes on this. But your question may be, well, what am I going to learn today? Why am I even here? Well, first of all, and obviously, you're going to learn about this visual process that is called the path. And it can be used, and I say, to plan your next adventure. So it can be used for a variety of things. Second of all, oh, this is covered up by my thing here. Can you all see this whole text? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. Second of all, you'll learn that the system is flexible within its structure. So that may sound a little contradictory, but we'll find that out as we go along. But third of all, mostly it's just fun. And I love the creativity that it really encourages. So think of the path as a springboard to the future. Wow. And aren't these guys cute, huh? So it helps us depict the anticipated goal achievement that our authors Poole and Hugo talked about a minute ago, anticipating. It's motivational in that it's visual, and it can be a creative collage of images, of photographs, of illustrations, and of words. And again, as you start creating your own path, you can mix and match these. If you love photographs, the first one I did was all just photographs that I grabbed from the internet and made into my path. But you can use illustrations if you're real creative that way, or just words. So you make it your own. And I love that part of it. Now, Tammy sent out some resources to you this morning. You may not have had a chance to look at them, and that's fine, but I did want to highlight these for you real quickly. The first one is gaining clarity and meaning in your life in 3 hours. And for some of us, it takes a lot more than 3 hours. But Barbara McKay, we'll see a video of hers next, talks a little bit about the process. Another one is Planning Alternative Tomorrows with Hope, the path, that has some different information about it. Participants Guide, and this was particularly used with some people with disabilities, very interesting kind of thing. What is Path Strategic Planning? So another resource. The last one is the one I want to focus on just for a second. Dr. Bruce Smith, who is a colleague of ours in the CAP, Center for Applied Positive Psychology, wrote this book during the pandemic, Move from Striving to Thriving, the Positive Psychology Workbook for Challenging Times. And as we remember, they certainly were challenging times. He included the path process toward the back of the book. And you also got this as a PDF. So you have the whole thing for free. However, some of us prefer print format, and you can order this from Amazon, not trying to push Amazon, but Amazon for less than $6. So you can have different ways of viewing this particular wonderful information. And all of these things will give you more information about the path. So we're going to view a YouTube by Barbara McKay, who was in the very first resource that I mentioned. And I'm going to stop sharing, and Jillian's going to share.
You may want to turn the volume up on your computers to be able to hear this video well, we've discovered.
Yes.
Hi. Today I wanted to talk to you about a planning process that I have found tremendously helpful. In fact, in front of me I have this planning process back in 1997. I had subsequently redone this process 3 or 4 times and found it incredibly practical, fun, visionary, and really helpful when you've got a transition in your life, or you're really feeling you need a jump start to some new phase of your life. I also do this with organizations, groups of 30, probably more would be a little impractical. What we have here is a large version of what's called the path. So this is Planning Alternative Tomorrows with Hope, and it was developed by 2 Canadians, Jack Pierpont, John O'Brien, and actually 3, Marcia Forrest. And there's a whole book on it, which I don't know even if it's in print anymore. The key thing is to have this process done for you is fantastic, and once you have it done for you, you can facilitate anyone else's path or any other group's path. So that's the first thing, get your own path done so you know the process. Let me just walk you through it. So over here we have what we call the North Star Vision, and no, I didn't build my company name based on that, but they actually call it the North Star Vision, and someone did my vision for me, and there was lots of stuff about outdoors and working in different countries and the world, spirituality and sacred sites with my family. And then the next step, so that's called the North Star Vision. The second step is called Positive and Possible Goals. And if you read one of my blogs, you'll note that they really use goals as objectives, but we won't get into that right now. But basically, in arrows, you make out things that you're going to do to get you closer to your longer term vision. And usually these are about a year long or 1.5 years. Then you move right over to the far left side of your chart, and you start mapping out what's happening in the life of the organization now, or your own life. Who do you need to enroll to help you achieve this vision and these positive and possible goals? And what do you need to strengthen? What is some training you need, or things you need to do for yourself, or help you need? Then your last few steps are what happens in the next 3 to 4 months. And sometimes You just, again, you're trying to get a little more succinct and tactical for what happens to get here. What are the specific things that need to happen there? And then in my case, they only got as first step, but often you do the first month and the first step. And that includes finding someone who can maybe call you or make sure that you actually carry your plan out. Finally, you usually give a title. Mine was Barb McKay's Path to Inner Peace and Fulfillment. And then people sign it, and it's really fun. Great, so now I'd like to show you how you might do this on just a flip chart size piece of paper, because you saw the finished
We're going to
product
stop
here,
there, Jillian.
and now I'd like to show you how you would actually start it. So come on over here to my piece.
Thank you. Okay. Did that maybe lay a foundation for you about the process that we're going to go through? The path has evolved. Thank you. The path has evolved a little bit, and the steps that will follow are just slightly different than what Barbara McKay talked about. But I wanted you, first of all, to see how big her path was, but also how colorful. And I have looked for the book that she mentioned. I cannot find it, so it must be out of print. But if anyone finds it at some point in time, let me know. Any comments about that particular video? It is embedded in that very first resource that's on your page. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to ask you to do is get out that sheet of paper that Tammy mentioned and divide it into 9 sections. Now your sections don't have to be neat and clean like my little graphic is here, but make 9 boxes, because what this is going to do is help you develop a template for when you build your own path. After you've got your squares drawn or your rectangles, label them, and you can put NS for North Star, and then just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we'll be referring back to this sheet of paper as we go through the 8 steps plus the North Star of the path. So I can't see everybody, but those that I can see, let me see your hands, that you're thumbs up, that you're ready. Okay. So let's begin. And we start, as Barbara said, with the North Star. And I love this part. It's actually my favorite part of the whole process. So why do we look to the North Star? Well, we know that sailors of old, people who were traveling, indigenous cultures, a lot of people use the North Star for guidance. And I think that's the main reason why we are using it as the beginning point of the path, is it's for guidance for us. And as I said, we'll wrap around starting with it and then ending with it. It's our starting place because it's the basis for all that you will plan and think about as you construct your path. And it anchors, defines, and intensifies your path. So that's a pretty heavy duty thing for a North Star, right? And I love this. To begin your North Star, it's important that you start writing down the things that are important to you. We'll ask you to eventually make a list. Now, you're not going to be able to make this whole list right now, obviously, we have a time constraint, but think about making a list, things that are important to you. And I think the fun part is revise as often as necessary. This is not a static list. We are growing and changing even as older adults, and things that were less important might become more important and vice versa. So what are some things that might be important? Well, health, financial security, our relationships, traveling, reading, maybe compassion for others in a lot of different ways, animals, the earth, people, stress reduction. The very first path that I did was on stress reduction, and I needed it at that time. And I still have it. I look at it every once in a while. Deep breathing was my favorite activity. But what's important to you? It may be all of these things, it may be none of these things, other things, but that's the thing that the path asks you to start with. Now, I've been in this kind of journey for a long time. Actually, I figured out about 30 years, and started with when I read Stephen Covey's book about the 7 habits of highly effective people. He asks you to write a personal mission statement. And this is where that list of all the things that are important to you come into focus. And I had pages and pages. I didn't realize how many things were important to me, but it became unwieldy. So I made categories because that's kind of how my brain functions. And I came up with 4 categories. After I started learning about positive psychology, I added 2 additional categories. So that's just been in the last couple of years. But this is my personal mission statement. I live my life with gratitude, health, happiness, thought, love, and creativity. And everything that's important to me falls into these concepts. So you may only have one thing. Maybe health is the main thing that you want to focus on, or education, or travel. Doesn't matter. This is where I always start, and this is what anchors and grounds me. You're welcome to steal that if you want to. And all of this will be in the video once it gets posted. So take that sheet of paper, the one with the 9 blocks on it, in the section that starts with NS or North Star, write one thing that connects you to your North Star. And I'll give you about a minute. Kind of signal me when you're done, although I can't see everyone. Everyone doing okay? Okay.
It's good.
Good. Okay. So step 1, let's get started on the path. Now you're going to see this little graphic over and over, but I think that's important. So we know that we're beginning with the North Star. And step 1 of this, and this is a little bit different than what Barbara McKay was talking about, but it's called touching your dream, or touching the dream. I like touching your dream. I think that's a little bit more personal. So what does that mean? Well, you've defined what you want to know, what's important to you through your North Star. But now, what do you dream about doing about that? So you've got something as your North Star, or many things as your North Star, but what kind of action is that going to lead you to? And you say, Mary, I dream about a lot of things. And I say, fantastic. We want to keep vital and active and involved. However, because this is a short presentation, we're going to just think in terms of one thing. But at this point in this dream, it's starting to make a wish list for your life. And we know that there's always things that we might want to accomplish, but I want you to think about them in perhaps different kinds of terms. Maybe actions that you wish to carry out. Mine has always been, and probably always will be, to walk the Appalachian Trail. Maybe I won't get to it, but that's what I wish to carry out. But other things that you might have on your life wish list is feelings. Maybe the feeling of awe that you get with a beautiful sunset or a beautiful sunrise, or the clear blue sky, or the clouds at night, happiness with a new grandbaby. What are the feelings that you want to feel? And maybe you want to learn some things. Maybe you want to learn French, or maybe you want to learn how to do a rock climbing wall. What are things that you might learn? So as you're dreaming your dream, consider accomplishment, maybe in terms of action, feelings, things you want to learn. So I want to give you some examples here. Perhaps you want to write the great American novel. Sounds fun, right? It's a lot of work, but that may be something you want to do. Or travel. I got some pictures from a friend of mine who's in Banff, Canada right now. I thought, oh, I could do that. I could go there. Perhaps you want to volunteer. Maybe you want to give time to an animal shelter or work with a certain group of people, things like that. Maybe you want to keep working, but only part-time, or maybe even at a different profession. So these are things you might want to do. Move. I did this 3 years ago, moved from Tulsa to Ruidoso, and it's been a wonderful thing. Maybe you want to study something, photography, genealogy, rock climbing, Portuguese, whatever. One of my favorites, perhaps you want to build a better garden or learn more about gardening. Or like Tammy and Paula did, maybe you want to start a philanthropic or educational organization. Sounds like fun. And probably one for most of us, we want to be healthier. So you're creating dreams now that have to do with your North Star. And your dreams are some of the things that you dream of. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment so I can see everyone. And like you to shout out, what are some of the things that you dream about doing during this part of your life? You'll have to take yourselves off mute. Anybody?
Gail.
I really love the work that I do, but my dream is to find a way to continue to bring my gifts that feels more nourishing. I'm so done with running a business, but I love my work.
That's great. So
I want to learn Spanish. I learned it, of course, growing up in Santa Fe, I was okay at Spanish by the time, because we had it every class, every grade level. But then I didn't practice it and didn't keep speaking it. So I want to pick it back up.
Great. Anybody else? Something that you want to learn or do or feel? Well, the main point is to get that on your paper. And get back to this, share, getting better at this. So for the purposes today, look at all of the things that you might want to dream about, but refer back to your North Star first to make sure that there's an alignment between what's important to you and what you dream about doing. And if there's not, then fix it, make it important. And for our purposes, let's just think about one thing that you want to dream about. So get out that piece of paper with the 9 blocks and write one thing in block 1, one thing you dream of doing that's in relation to your North Star. And again, I'll give you about a minute. How's everybody doing? Okay. Good. So we've completed step 1. We've got our North Star. We've got touching your dream, but now it has to get a little bit more real. And this part we call sensing your goal or sensing the goal. And the important part of these 3 steps, well, step 2, step 1, and North Star, is that they are the basis for the path. This is the foundation, the grounding. Everything we'll talk about in steps 3 through 8 is how you're going to do this. But these 3 are important because they're your starting point and they're the things that are going to carry you through. So sensing your goal. Okay, so what are you going to do with that dream? So you've got your North Star, you've got your dream. Now, what am I going to do about it? So this is one of those goals that we talked about a little bit earlier. And I like to think of it as exploring options. And isn't that a nice thing? I mean, in this day and age, we as older adults have options, and I just love that. So now we want to figure out how to spend this phase of our lives. What do we want to do? So we've got our North Star that guides us. We've got our dream. This phase asks us to look at our goal. And it's very important, as we said before, to set goals, to keep that positive well-being. So what's the goal for your dream? And we're going to go back to our list at this point and pick one as an example to carry us through the rest of the presentation. So we had write, travel, volunteer, working, but at a part-time or a different profession, move, study photography. I'm highlighting genealogy here, but it could be any one of these. I thought, okay, I'm going to have a diverse audience here. I don't know if people want to travel. I don't know if they want to garden. So I just picked genealogy as kind of a neutral, hopefully, starting point. So my goal is genealogy. All right, but what do I want to do with it? Well, I want to learn about my family history to be able to share more with younger generations. So that is an example of my genealogy goal. So are you getting a sense now of how this works with your North Star, your dream, and now your goal? Again, I can't see everybody, but hopefully this is working. So what do I need to do? I'm not doing these things at this point. I'm just getting a sense of what it's going to take to teach younger members of my family about our family. So I got to learn about my family, obviously. How am I going to go about doing that? Who might be interested? Are those young kids even interested in our family? Well, they should be, right? So how am I going to present this? Is it going to be oral? Is it going to be pictures? Is it going to be written? And I actually do this almost on a monthly basis for the family. I write about our family, and I've got pictures. Hopefully they're interested, but you know, again, we're just exploring at this point, what is it going to take? How long and how often am I going to work on it or present this information? And will there be finances required for carrying out my goal? So again, sensing your goal is not doing the things, we'll get to that, but it's thinking about, oh, what is it that I'm going to have to do in order to carry out my dream of my North Star? So my goal is I want to study my family history. Now it's your turn. So for step 2, go back to that sheet of paper with the 9 blocks, write one goal that links your dream and your North Star together. And I'll give you a minute. And don't be worried about somebody's going to hold your feet to the fire on this. You're just getting a sense at this point of how the process works.
Mary, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I've been having to kind of work while I listen today, but I love this talk so much. Can you tell me again the difference between the step 1 box and the step 2?
Yes.
Because like for number 1, I had put, caretaking of my mom and pets. And I had put, I'll bring food to my mom, like homemade food to my mom once a week. And then with step 2, I'm like, I will write out my monthly budget in terms of financial wellness. Are they both sort of just like a goal box or a path to your goal?
Well, the dream is I want to take care of my family, my pets, my environment, whatever you want to include in that. And then what I'm going to do comes really later. But at this point, well, what do I think that dream's going to entail? And I shouldn't have said yes, because we need to probably hold the questions for afterwards, but I hope that helps. And if it doesn't, then we'll talk about it again. The dream is just, I've got this thing that's important to me. What in the world am I going to do with it? And now we're getting a little bit more specific. What do I think I really want to do with it?
That's perfect. Yes, I don't leave
it
time for people.
Okay. So step 3, and again, this is part of the 8-part steps. So of course, we know we're going to start with the North Star, we're going to touch our dream, and we're going to sense our goal. Now, hopefully you can see the arrows on the bottom, and this will make more sense when we get to step 4. But if you remember from Barbara McKay's video, she scooted on back to the end of the path for step 3, which is called ground in the now. Ground in the now. And what this means is you're going to explore what it might take to carry out this goal. You're going to look at things that are perhaps feasible or things that are not feasible. Me becoming an NFL football player is not ever going to be feasible, ever. So we want to sort those kinds of things out. And we do this through asking a real reality check of ourselves. So ground in the now, and I'm reading the Hunger Games now, so I had to put that in there. Okay, ground in the now asks, do I have the talents or abilities that might help me with this project? So you've dreamed of something important, you've thought about what you want to do with it. Now you're going to say, can I really do this particular project? Do I have challenges or obstacles to overcome? And even if you think that they're insurmountable, I would say continue through the process and maybe modify. So grounding in the now is really the reality check. Now asks you, where are you in relation to step 2? Okay, so I know I want to study family history. Have I ever done anything like this before? Have I done research? Have I looked into family history? What skills might I need in order to do this? Oh, do I need to join an online genealogy website? Well, maybe. In Tulsa, we had sections of the library devoted to genealogy. That's great, but do I know how to navigate them? That kind of thing. And one important question, do I have the time to organize and keep it going? So step 3, one thing that you can do to further your dream, your goal, your dream, your North Star. Again, we're not into actions yet. We're still just thinking and sorting out things. But do I have the skills? Do I have the time? Do I have the money? What's one thing that might help you move along with this process? Oops. Okay, I'm going to move on to step 4. And you know where we start, right? Where? Can't hear you. Okay.
North Star.
Thank you. All right. And step 1 is touching our dreams. So we're dreaming about what we want to do. We're getting a sense of our goal. We haven't set our goal yet, but we're getting a sense of it. We're grounding in the now. Oh, what are the pros and cons kind of thing. And I love this step. It's called invite enrollment. And you can see, I hope, that we're going from step 2 on over to step 3, and then we're going to build from left to right with the action things as we go through the steps of this path. So it's a little bit different format. We're not just going linear. We're kind of skipping around here. All right, so invite enrollment. And this means who or what can help you. So going it alone is hard on any particular goal or thing that we're trying to accomplish. It's always nice to have some help. So this step invites you to find people or resources. And I love this. I read about this concept of having a goal buddy, someone who's walking this walk with you or can give you expert help as you go along. So it can be someone, but it also, in my brain, can be things like research. As I talked about, maybe I need to join ancestry.com or something like that. Maybe it's journals. Maybe it's old in the genealogy goal. Maybe it's old letters from grandma or great grandma or someone in the family. And I've got a ton of those. So that might be a helpful buddy for me. And then there's all kinds of apps that can help us track something. So this is finding the resources that will eventually help us attain our goal or attain what we want to do with our North Star. So thinking about my genealogy goal, what am I going to actually do to help myself with this? Well, I can find family elders to question. My uncle is 83. He's a fountain of knowledge. I have a second cousin who's a little bit older than me. And when I wrote this, I thought, oh, I am the family elder. Well, okay, so we'll just stick with that one. Maybe I need to go to genealogy websites. Maybe I can find people who've actually known my family that I can talk with and gather information from. So these are the things that I'm using as my goal buddies to help. And there may be lots of others, but we have to limit at this point, who and what and where and when and how. So step 4, back to that sheet of paper with the 9 blocks. You're in step 4. Write one person or action which could help you with your North Star, your goal, your dream, your North Star. And again, you're building a template for yourself. You can change it, you can erase it, you can cross it out, you can enhance it. But for this point, just write down one thing that can be your goal buddy.
And if we write more than one, then we're an overachiever.
Yes. Means I'm giving you too much time here. No, that's wonderful. I just know it takes a little bit of thinking maybe to, get this solidified. And believe me, it doesn't happen all at once. There's someone waiting to be admitted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. You know what comes first, right? Let me hear it.
North Star.
Our star, yay. Touching our dream, sensing our goal. We're back over here now, grounding in the now. We know a little bit about who's going to be able to help us. And wow, building strength. I love this particular step. Next week, when we come back, we're going to talk more about strength because it's a very important concept in positive psychology. But for today, we're just going to say build strength. So what does that mean? It means, that you're assessing what you have or need to carry out your dream, your goal. So it's a little confusing with grounding in the now. You're kind of saying, oh, what's important? What's an obstacle? What's a challenge? What good things do I have? But now you're really narrowing it down. You're really saying, oh, these are my strengths in this area. These are things that I really need to learn or acquire or whatever. So does that make sense? It's a little bit confusing to me when I first started learning this, but this is more personal. Ground in the now is just kind of general. Oh, what is it going to take? But this building strength is what is it going to take for me? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right. This is going to really have us look at capitalizing on our strengths. But it also says to us, we may need to take baby steps. You know, some of us being overachievers want to just jump right in and do this all at once, 30 minutes and we're done. Well, you can do that, but it then might call for you to go back and modify, view it in a different light. Don't expect this path to happen in just a few minutes. It's something you want to ponder, you want to take baby steps. So this part, step 5, asks us, what strengths do I have to carry out my goal? So I'm going to do a little bit different thing here. I'm going to stop sharing and Jillian's going to put you into what's called breakout rooms. And here you're going to meet the people that are in your breakout rooms and just briefly brainstorm some of the things you would need maybe to carry out your genealogy goal or whatever goal that you have. So I'll stop sharing and Jillian can put you into breakout rooms for maybe about 3 minutes, Jillian.
We needed more than 3 minutes.
Of course. I guess everyone's back. How was it? Did you like doing that? Yes, no, yes.
It was wonderful.
Mary, it was wonderful.
Yeah, really fun.
We'll do more of that kind of activity next week when you've had a chance to look at your own path and maybe have some questions or comments, feedback, but we'll do another breakout room next week and it'll be longer. But I wanted to just give you a chance to meet each other. So what were some of your ideas that you came up with of things that you might build strength with? Anybody?
Okay, Mary, it's Clara.
Oh, hi, Clara.
Hi, we had a wonderful group of 3, and 2 of us knew each other by Zoom but had never met. What a coincidence.
Yeah.
And our 3rd person, Willow, who just joined, was an absolute delight. So we probably could have spent an hour together, completely happy, talking about our different goals.
You
Yeah.
all were a delight.
Thank you, Willow.
Anyone else? Oh, God, I'm going the wrong way here. Anyone else want to share? Okay, well, we'll move on then. So you know this slide, you know it's going to ask you to look at that paper with 9 blocks and write one strength. We won't worry about challenges so much right now, but one strength that you have or will need to fortify to further your goal, your dream, your North Star. And since you've talked about it, I'm not going to give you very long on this one because we want to get to the next one, which is North Star, touching your dreams, sensing, ground in the now, invite enrollment. Finally, we get to what am I going to do? And we were talking during the break while you all were in your breakout rooms. We're so enculturated, I think, to getting to the doing that sometimes some of these other steps seem a little bit painful and a little bit slow. So we're finally here, right? Bold steps for achievement. So this particular thing, this particular step asks us to start on the real plan. And I always think in terms of 3. So we're going to challenge you to make a plan and name 3 things, although today you may only have time to do 1. But I think a more important part of this is having the self-confidence that you can carry out this goal. And this is called self-efficacy. So again, people that we've seen before, Hugo Alberts and Lucinda Poole, wrote an article about building self-efficacy, take small steps. And they refer to Bandura, who said self-efficacy is the belief that you can carry out what is necessary to realize your goals. Very, very important concept. We don't have time to talk about it right now too much, but Alberts and Poole say through a self-fulfilling cycle of achievement and confidence, self-efficacy can develop over time. So that's where the baby steps come in that we talked a little bit about earlier. Just don't expect to achieve this all at once. But the important thing is, in general, people who have high self-efficacy beliefs are more likely to be committed to their goals. And we'll talk about commitment in step 8. But I think this is such an important thing that I'm planning all this. Do I really feel like I can do it? And another interesting thing, I think, is that having self-efficacy gives positive effects on our brain. So research shows that initiating a behavior change successfully has positive effects on the brain. Wow, who doesn't want that? I want all the positive effects on my brain that I can get. And according to these researchers, people learn more from their successes than from their failures. And this has been a real shift, I think, at least in my thinking. Always, oh, I can't do this. I've got to do it better. I've got to learn better. But this says we learn more from the things we're successful at. Not that we don't want challenges, but the important part is achievements are processed more efficiently and our brains learn quickly what makes us succeed so we can repeat it. So I think, again, it's good to have goals and our plans, but it's also important to think, I can do this. So in my little genealogy goal here, I've listed 3 action things that I want to actually do. I want to see if there are family pictures to study. And I think this would be a real fun thing. Actually, we're going to do this at our family reunion in August. I've asked everybody to bring family pictures so that we can look at them and talk about them and tell about them. And I'm going to talk about with my uncle and with my other cousin, even younger cousins, and see about their recollections. And last, oh boy, I'm going to join Ancestry.com for further information about my family. So we finally got to the doing part, right? But it's all tied in, and you know that by now, that it's all tied in with your goal, your dream, your North Star. So write one action step that you can take to push yourself forward towards your goal, your dream, your North Star. Okay, are you ready for step 7? Yes, all right. And you know where it starts. North Star, touching your dreams, sensing your goal. Then we're going to ground in the now, find people or resources to help us build our strength. We're going to do our goals. And this one I hate, monthly planning. Oh dear. Oh dear. But this is important because we've got to write these things down. If I don't write them down, they don't happen. Are you the same way? Yeah. So as I get older, it's more important. But so write the things that you're going to do on your to-do list or to your daily calendar. But Mary, why do I have to write them down? Well, to remember them, for one thing. But this is important. We're building new habits and we need reminders. So some people use sticky notes. You know, we have our phones that can give us reminders. I won't say her name because she'll go off, but I have Lady A over here in my corner and she can give us reminders. But we do need reminders because building new habits takes time and work. And writing it down is also a step toward commitment, which is step 8. A dream is something you want to do, but it can float around in your brain. But when you write it down, then it becomes a possibility. And this monthly planning helps us build new habits. No matter what our dream and goals are, it helps us. So this step is asking you to calendar. How often? How long are you going to work on your project? Are you going to work on it every day or every week or every month? How long are you going to work on it? 1 hour, 15 minutes? There's no right or wrong answer, but writing it down helps you remember it, and it is a step to commitment. But it's also important to set ourselves up for success. And one of the things that we can do is pair a new habit with an existing action. So I was thinking about this as I was putting this together. And drinking more water is one of my really, really, really big goals. So I have different water bottles planted around the house. And my new habit is when I pass by one of those water bottles, just walking by, I will drink it instead of just passing on by. So I'm going to walk around the house. I'm going to drink my water. But this one I like better, pair it with a reward. Well, okay, so I've drank all my water. I'm going to take a trip to Switzerland, right? Probably not that. Probably not that kind of reward. Maybe an extra cup of coffee, or my doctor says to eat 1 square of dark chocolate every day. I could do that. So pair it with something that's a reward for you. Plant cues, sticky notes, or whatever to remind you. Again, the difference between a habit that becomes automatic and one that you abandoned, and don't we have some of those, is a system that will help you maintain it. So set yourself up for success as you think about what it is that one thing that you can calendar that will help move you toward your goal, your dream, your North Star. And then we'll wrap it up with step 8. Okay. You know these by heart now, don't you? So we've done our monthly planning. Step 8 is commitment. Yeah, this is so important. I'm actually going to do it. So commitment to me it goes like this. I've got my plans laid out. I've assessed what my strengths and what my needs are to carry it out, what my goals are. And now it's time to say, yes, I'm actually going to do this. And I think the first part of this is referring back to your North Star. Making sure that these things are in line. If they're not, then make adjustments. But if I'm going to put in this time and effort and work, I want it to be something that's worthwhile to me. But what this step really asks is, how likely am I going to be to follow through with this? We all lay plans, don't we? So how likely? Well, researching some of this, am I acting in line with my goal? That is so important. So successful goal achievement is greatly dependent on your ability to monitor your progress toward goal attainment. And I never thought about that. I mean, I know you're supposed to keep track of this and this and this, but it helps with that commitment because it helps us concentrate on goal-related activities. You've written down something, but you may think of more things that you want to do or calendar. It mobilizes resources to achieve that goal. It can reduce distractions of non-goal related activities, so it keeps you concentrating. It increases persistence and improves performance. So monitoring is a big part of being able to commit. What else can we do? We can say affirmations, we can journal, put things on our calendar. But one of the most important things, I think, is to monitor our own self-talk. So be careful of how you are talking to yourself because you are listening, okay? And this could be a whole course in and of itself on self-talk. But self-talk is basically engaging in positive affirmations. I've got this. It might be challenging, but it's important. Or one of my favorites, every day, in every way, I'm drawing closer to my goal. So talking to yourself again is a big part of commitment. And sometimes those pep talks need to really be there, don't they? So your last little box, this is your template. What's one thing that you can do to commit to your goal, your dream, your North Star? Okay, you've seen the steps of the path. And my little question here is, are you ready? So does this approach excite you? I hope it does. You've spent some time going through it now. Are you ready to construct your own version of your path? And the answer is yes, right? So in the next week, use this roadmap, this template that you've built with those 9 boxes, and start working on a path for yourself. It can be something that's near and dear to you, or something that just pops in. And you can use this paper with the 9 blocks on to get you started. But if you don't like what you wrote today, change it. There's no thing that says you have to use those. That was just to get you engaged in the process. So we're going to go down this path together. And like I said, for next week, start working on your own path. Don't worry about finishing it, because we'll talk about this process next week. You can write down your questions, bring up your thoughts. We'll do it together. But If you get stuck, feel free to contact me. Okay. Email is maryofjenks@gmail.com, or here's my phone number, 918-852-0822. I've had a blast. You guys have been wonderful, and I hope that you have too.
Thank you, Mary.
You bet. Now, questions and answers, Tammy? Do we have time?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Take some questions if anybody has any thoughts or questions they want to chime in.
Can we put this so that I can see everybody?
Yeah, if you go up in your right-hand corner, top right-hand corner, and see the view
Okay.
button, if you hit that, then check gallery.
Well, normally I can do it. Ah, there it is. Gallery. There you all are. Hi. Questions? Yes, Betty.
Okay, I'm unmuted, I think. Thank you so much, Mary. This was great. I remember you talked in our in Clara's positive psychology class, and I really, was so helpful to have you actually like go through the different boxes and actually do it. Super helpful. And my biggest conclusion is, it'll be really fun to work on this in the next week, but my biggest conclusion is that really my biggest issues are mental in this. It's not, there aren't like so much of it is either in place, and I've been thinking about it for years, like 3 years, and we've been taking steps, but I really have these mental blocks that are really addressed in those last couple of steps, like the committing, the weekly check-ins, pushing myself into thinking about things that I don't know a whole lot about. So, but I need to think about them to know about them. So anyway, that was like super helpful. And it was, I think, a really eye-opening thing for me to see that it wasn't like these aren't physical. I've sort of mastered a lot of the physical aspects and having things in place, but that it's my thinking.
Yeah, that's an important point, Betty, and I think you're right on. And as we said before, so many times we go, oh, this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. But this process makes us really slow down and take a look at perhaps things that we haven't thought of before. And it takes time. I want people to ruminate. Now, you're not going to have a whole lot of time in a week to ruminate, but you're just getting started on this. But it can take a whole long time, a while, to get this like you want it. And so that's why I love the process, because you can fix it, you can change it, you can modify it, you can throw it out, you can add other things. So thank you, Betty.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments?
I just think that calendar piece is so important, because as a creative type, I don't tend to think or function the way, left brain people typically do. And because so much of what I work on and do requires creativity, I have to literally schedule that time. And, sometimes I'm more creative than others on certain days, but as long as I know I've got that window to focus on it, that's my time to get it done. And it's really important to have those boundaries. I think, to give yourself the spaciousness that you need to, actually work on it. So anyway, I agree with you, Betty, that can trip you up if you don't have even time to just think, to sit down and think it through, how do I go about this? So anyway, I really love that part of it.
I have an app that I use. It's called Fabulous, and it's based on positive psychology out of Duke University. And it's on changing habits and things. But the important thing is they chime you several times a day. Did you do the things that you said you were going to do today? Like, exercise, drink your water, whatever it is you set up. But I feel like it's a physical reminder. Oh yeah, I've got to do my stretches. I've got to do this. So we need reminders like that.
Definitely. Any other questions or comments from anybody? I want to jump to showing everybody then, and feel free to chime in if something pops up. But I want to jump to showing everyone some examples. I'll just skip down here of, Mary mentioned lots of resources, and we emailed the resource links to you guys this morning. So you should have them. If you did not get them for some reason, let me know. But there's lots of different approaches to, you know, doing the path. So I just wanted to give you some visual images. Here's another example of what people's path looks like, you know, once they've completed it. So for some people, it's way more structured, and, you know, this on the lower right-hand corner is more of a strategic planning approach to doing a path. So it might apply more for businesses or setting up a new business. But really it can be used for anyone for any reason. And there's no set way that it has to look in the end. It's up to you to be creative with it. So I just wanted to show these. And this list of resources everybody has. And this is the PDF of Move from Surviving to Thriving that was emailed to everybody this morning, that has really great instructions and links to other information about the path within this book. So I just encourage everybody to take a look at that. So once again, I just want to say thank you so much, Mary, for being here and doing this with us today. It was really useful. I agree, Betty and I had the privilege of going through Clara's class together, and having this template really makes it all come together somehow. It makes a difference to have this template to work with. I think it simplifies the process in a way that makes it doable. So yeah, it's great that you shared this. Thank you. And I'll talk in just a minute about next week, but first I want to touch on, if you guys had a minute to take that poll, we posted it in the chat box. We really would appreciate it. New Mexico New is working to put together learning programs, but we're also doing all the behind the scenes research to put together an app so that we can easily connect people to work, volunteer opportunities, other learning programs that are out there, resources, and create a sense of community and connection in New Mexico. So if you could do that, we would appreciate it. And once again, I just want to thank our sponsors. Without this group of annual sponsors, and we always invite more sponsors to join us, but we really appreciate their support. They're grateful as well for what we're doing, so it makes good partnerships for us. So we really appreciate their support. And then I just want to mention that our next learning event is going to be with Elaine and Bob Grassberger. The topic is more life in your years, more years in your life, more life in your years. And that will be a really fun talk that they will do with us in August, on August 25th. You can go to our website, nm-new.org /events to register for that. And so back to the path, part 2 will happen next Friday. So we'll be a little more interactive with actually working on each of our paths. If I understand, I'll let you explain what expectations are for next week, if you will, Mary.
Yes, if you'll just get your feet wet, we'll work through things together next week. Thank you.
Okay, great. And so it will be the same time, 11:30 to 1, and I will send a Zoom link out to everybody next week so that you have connection to get into that class. So any other thoughts or questions, comments?
Oh, this is Clara. I just wanted to compliment Mary on her slides. I thought your visuals were extraordinary, and they will last. They're timeless. So the fact that you recorded this and it's going to be up on the site is just excellent. Way beyond what I expected. Poor Mary, she's done this about every time she does it, she pours her total heart into it, and you get a whole nother picture. So I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah, great content, great. And humor. And I want to say, and I'd add to that your humor too. Thank you.
Thank you.